So when we round decimal numbers, we're doing the same thing that you guys have done in previous years with rounding. There are rules that you followed before. The rules are going to be the same, except now we're going out to the thousandths place. Why do we round? What is the purpose of rounding? Yes? Okay, well it is easier when we round, but why do we round? What's the purpose? Colson?
To estimate your answer.
To estimate your answer. Why do I want to estimate my answer?
Because say if you do the problem after and know if your answer is somewhat near.
So I can see if my answer is reasonable. That's a good one. Why else would I maybe want to estimate? Good. Yep.
The problem might tell you to estimate.
The problem could tell me to. What if you're going to Six Flags with your friends? Do you know exactly how many dollars and cents you're going to go to Six Flags with and spend all day long?
No.
No, but can you kind of estimate, okay, my meals at Six Flags cost about 10 to 15 bucks a piece, and I'm going to want to have a snack, and I need something for a stuffed animal, so I'm going to bring about $40 with me so I have enough money. Could you do that? Estimating something we actually do in real life. We do it with our budgets. We do it with planning parties. We do it with lots of things. So when we round, we're estimating our answer. We do this for a lot of reasons. We just hit a lot of good ones. But when we round, we estimate. If your word problem has the word estimate in it, that's usually your clue that you're going to round. What are some other words that might show up in a word problem and show you that you need to round? Clara? About. That's a good one. When it says about, how much money do you need to take to the mall with you if you want to buy 5 things, whatever. About is one. What's another one? Can you think of another word that comes up in word problems that means we get to round and do easy math? Yep.
Near sometimes.
Near, okay, yep. Estimate, good. We've got estimate, about. Can you think of another one? Yes, ma'am? Around. Sure. There's another one I was looking for that kind of throws people off a little bit, and that one is approximately. If it says approximately, how many gifts do you need to bring for your friends for their goodie bags or whatever it is if you're planning a party and you invite 30 people? So approximately, that's another one. When you see these words in your problems, a lot of times kids will do 487 times 23 and they round at the very end. Does that make sense?
No.
If it's a rounding problem, do we need to do 487 times 23 and then round the product after we've done all that work? No. If these are our keywords that are telling me it's a rounding question, that's my golden ticket to easy math, and I'm going to do 500 times 20 and figure out my answers about 10,000. Do not do all the work if you don't need to. Round first. Round first and then multiply or add or whatever it is you're doing. If you round first, you're going to keep yourself from having to do a lot of work. So when we round, I like to go back to number lines for a second because it's a good way to visualize. If I've got 4 and I've got 5 on a number line, what's got to come right in the middle?
4.5.
Do we call it 4.5 in 5th grade? What's his real name?
4.5.
4 and 5/10. Good. 4 and 5/10. So I've got two options here, unless it tells me to round to the hundredths or thousandths, whatever. The question is, depends on what you round it to, but a lot of times they won't say what place value spot to round to. You round to the easiest one. If you've got a bunch of numbers that are in the thousands, round to the thousandth place. When I'm rounding on a number line, I'm either going to pick 4 or 5. How am I going to know to round up to 5? What am I going to look for to say 5 is where I'm going? Addison?
If it's 1 through 4, you round down, and if it's 5 through 9, then you round up.
Good. So after 5, if you think about it like a roller coaster, if my cart is at the tippy top of the hill, I've got my hands up, I'm ready to go down, I got the little bar to keep me inside. If my cart is at 4.5 or anything past it, where's my cart go? Down. If you are on the other side, anything from 4.4, 4 and 4/10 this way, you're going to round down. Okay? So if I'm at 4 and 4/10, I'm not quite to the middle section. This middle, again, is 4 and 5/10. That's my halfway point. If I'm not to the halfway point, I have to go back down. On a number line, it's pretty easy to visualize it. A lot of times your decimal numbers will look like this. They'll give you a number like 14 and 237 thousandths, and it says round to the hundredths. What number's in the hundredths place? On this number, 4 and 237 thousandths. Clara? The 3. I'm going to underline the 3. You're either going to change it or leave it. What do I need to look at to see if I change it or leave it? Elise?
The place before it, which is 1,000.
The place before it or the place after it? After it. On the right. This is what I'm going to look at. Circle that one here. That one's important. If it's 5 or up, we get to change it. If it's 4 or below, we leave it. So, does the 3 get to change? Look at the 7. We get to change it to a 4, and the 7 disappears. It's now a 0. So, to round to the nearest hundredths, on this one, I get 14 and 24 hundredths for my answer. Raise your hand if you've done Cinderella rounding. You know what it is. Okay, humor me and let me show the other guys how to do it real quick. So there's a trick that I used to teach my 3rd graders. And my 5th graders generally like doing it because they like drawing the fairy godmother and making it look like a potato. So, yeah, yeah. You'll see. So, in Cinderella, who's the most important figure of that story? Cinderella, okay? So, I did not make this up. I got it off YouTube. But I've made it my own with a potato fairy godmother. Okay, if I want to round this number to the nearest hundredths again, let's stay with hundredths. I'm going to underline the hundredths place. That's Cinderella. She's the most important one in my story. Who's always right next to Cinderella to help her out? Fairy fairy godmother. This is my fairy godmother.
Potato.
No, she was a potato for a while. I gave her a skirt somewhere along the way. So here's fairy godmother. If fairy godmother is 5 or up, Cinderella gets to dress up. If she's 4 or below, she doesn't get to go and she has to stay the same. So fairy godmother is going to either say yes or no. What does she say today?
No.
No, she's having a bad day. Cinderella must have really annoyed her that day. So she says no, and Cinderella doesn't get to go, so she stays the same. She has to stay in her 3 dress, and fairy godmother goes poof and gets out of there. But if fairy godmother is 5 or up, she gets to dress up. Five or up, she gets to dress up. So let's let her go someplace and get a new outfit. So this number here, 8 and 246,000. So I'm going to round to the hundredths again just to stay in that plane. Who do I underline? Who's Cinderella?
4.
The 4. Hi, Cindy. And who's fairy godmother?
6.
The 6. And did she say yes or no?
Yes.
If fairy godmother is 5 or up, she gets to dress up into a 5. Doesn't she look beautiful? And fairy godmother's feeling good, so she says, yes, you may go. And our new number is 8 and 25 hundredths.
I used to think when you rounded,
So if fairy godmother is 5 or up, she gets to dress up. If she's 4 or below, she doesn't get to go. What do you do if there's another number after fairy godmother? Does it get to stick around?
No.
No. After you round, everybody after Cindy goes poof and disappears. There's no more numbers. Okay? If there's another one here or whatever, that one's gone. And it disappears with fairy godmother when she's out of there. So if fairy godmother is 5 or up, she gets to dress up. If she's 4 or below, she doesn't get to go.